So, the study of ecology. First of all, ecology is the study of organisms in their environment and how they interact with their environment with living factors and non-living factors. So, we need to talk about environment. So, environment, all the living and non-living factors of an area. So, you've heard the word environment before. When you discuss environment, you are talking about not just the living things, and they're all the animals and plants and bacteria and fungi, but also all the non-living factors. And we're going to get into those in just a minute. So, more scientific terminology for living and non living. Biotic factors are your living factors. Bio, the prefix bio means life. So, biotic factors, living factors. So, these are all the animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, protists. Anything that's living is considered a biotic factor. Abiotic factor are your non living factors in an environment. So, for instance, wind, temperature, current, salinity, pressure, sunlight availability, certain gases that are in the atmosphere, all those are abiotic factors that can affect an environment and that are very important to understand and to study when you are trying to learn about an ecosystem or an environment. Sometimes the non-living factors play a bigger role than the living factors do. So a lot of people, when I ask for an example of an abiotic factor, a lot of students will say a rock. And that is true. Rock and sediment are abiotic factors, but most of the abiotic factors that really play a role in an ecosystem are the ones that you can't really see. So like wind and temperature, current, salinity, wave action, tides, pressure, some of the pH in the water, all of those are abiotic factors. Okay. Habitat, a place where an organism lives. This is a word that you probably learned in kindergarten. It hasn't changed. So a habitat is a place where an organism lives. A niche. A niche is one of those words that you can write down the definition and you can memorize it, but you might not completely understand what a niche is. So let's talk about the definition and then I'll give you an example. So a niche, the role an organism plays in their environment. And with this, no two species can have the exact same niche. So a role an organism plays in their environment. So what that means is what that species does to survive. So what it eats, how it obtains that food, whether it hunts or scavenges, filter feeds, suspension feeds, when it reproduces, how often it reproduces, how many young it has, when it sleeps, if it's nocturnal or diurnal. All those things are an organism's role. Now, no two species can have the exact same niche. There are species that have similar niches, but they don't have the exact same niche, because if you had two species that had the exact same niche, one of them would eventually outcompete the other one. They can't have the exact same niche. So let me give you an example of this. So if you think about a lion and a hyena, a lion likes to eat your herbivore, so let's just say a zebra. So a lion eats a zebra. Well, the hyenas also eat the zebra. So their niches are similar in that aspect, that they are eating the same food source. But where they differ is how they obtain that food. So the lion does the hunting, takes down the zebra, gets first dibs. And the hyenas are the scavengers. They wait till the lion's done, and then they'll go in and eat what's left over. So they don't have the exact same niche, but they have similar niches, because if your hyenas and lions obtain that zebra in the same way, say they both hunted the zebra, eventually the lions, being the bigger, stronger species, would outcompete the hyenas. So Mother Nature kind of works it out to where certain resources are shared, but they're not obtained the same way. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more later. So this slide just has some basic terminology. So if you look at this picture right here, this is obviously a picture of a coral reef type ecosystem. So we've obviously got some biotic factors and some abiotic factors. So some biotic factors, of course, the most noticeable one is the fish right here. It is living. Some other ones are the sponge right here, which is an animal. It is living as well. And then, of course, a lot of coral around here, which is an animal as well, living also. Some microscopic organisms are always in the water, so those would be biotic factors also. Some abiotic factors in here would be sunlight availability. There's some light, obviously, so sunlight is getting there. Temperature of this water, salinity of this water, how salty this water is, pH of this water, pressure of this water, current, speed of this water. So all of those are abiotic factors. So if you study all of that along with the living things, then you're studying this environment. Okay, so now what we're going to get into is environmental factors that affect organism distribution. And what this basically is why certain organisms are found in certain places. So, for instance, you're not going to find a polar bear in the rainforest. They just don't live there. It's not because we have them fenced off in the colder areas and they can't travel down here on their own will, but they're just not adapted to live in those areas. So this is what this is meaning. So environmental factors that affect organism distribution, where we find organisms. The first thing we have to talk about